Have you ever left a conversation with the feeling, I should have said that differently? That feeling of regret doesn't come from saying the wrong thing, but from letting others pull you off your inherent calm. A well-timed response can change the entire dynamic, making your aggressor pause, causing those around you to see you differently, and making the final silence lean toward them, not you. Today, we will delve into 7 smart responses that help you handle the most emotionally charged situations, from attacks, challenging attitudes, to conversations where people aim to impose rather than seek the truth. These 7 responses are divided into 3 strategic groups. Questions that pull the other person back to reason. Cool-down responses to shift the dynamic. And cold but polite boundaries that help you end conflict without compromising your values. We will go through very real situations, such as being mocked in front of others, being interrupted in conversation, or being pushed to prove yourself when you don't need to. Each section will tell you when to use it, why it is effective, and the psychological mechanism that makes the other person pause. Marcus Aurelius once wrote that tranquility is the hardest form of power to confront. When you respond without wavering, you force others to adjust to your rhythm. And it is at that moment that your position is solidified, without applying pressure to anyone. If you want to possess the kind of power that makes others measure their words with you, watch this entire video. Press subscribe to the channel to cultivate self-mastery every day. And after today, you will no longer leave any argument with the feeling, I wish I had said that differently. You will know exactly what to say and how to say it, so that the final silence belongs to them. Response 1. Can you clarify what you mean? Use when someone is being sarcastic, making an insinuation, or launching a half-joking, half-serious attack to test whether you will lose your composure. A dialogue very quickly reveals the other person's true intention. Some people speak to exchange ideas, but others launch a condescending statement just to see how you react. An implied remark, a mocking tone, not aimed at finding the truth, but at observing your emotions. And most people fall exactly into the trap set for them, reacting emotionally. A person with true character does not do this. They pull the conversation back to where the opponent has no control. Reason. The unlocking phrase seems simple, but it is the most powerful move to flip the dynamic. Can you clarify what you mean? It forces the opponent to stop and find a rationale for what they just said. And when they have to shift from attitude to argument, most attacks immediately lose their force, as they had no logic to stand on. You don't get angry. You don't recoil. You simply demand something they were unprepared to face. Clarity. Consider a mundane situation. You are standing in a group of slight acquaintances. Someone makes a sarcastic comment wrapped in the guise of, just kidding, but the tone is loud enough for the whole group to hear. If you counterattack, they win. If you try to ignore it but feel uncomfortable, they also win. But when you look straight at them and calmly ask, what do you mean? Please explain that more clearly. The dynamic changes immediately. The person who just tried to appear sharp suddenly pauses. They glance at the person next to them, trying to piece together a reason, trying to regain clarity. And it is at that moment that the truth is exposed. Most attacks have nothing behind them except a reflexive action or a need to assert themselves. Socrates, the philosopher considered the father of the method of rational inquiry, once said that all weak arguments crumble when asked the right question. This is that question. You don't attack them. You merely demand clarity, something they are not ready to face. You don't make them lose face. You let them realize they spoke without thinking. This response has a deeper effect. It establishes your standard of communication. You do not engage in meaningless arguments. You do not react emotionally. You demand clarity. and the person who wishes to continue is forced to adjust their demeanor accordingly. When you maintain that rhythm with tranquility, the message you send is very clear. I don't play by your rules. If you want to talk, let's talk with reason. And when they are forced to rationalize what they just said, you don't need to win with words. The truth automatically stands on your side. Response 2. You're right. I've got it handled. Apply when someone criticizes you to probe your reaction, trying to see if you become defensive, waver, or lose your composure. An accusation rarely stems from a need to find a solution. It is launched to probe you, whether you will be defensive, whether you will waver, whether you will hastily adjust your self-image according to their expectations. The tone is familiar, half smiling, half challenging, as if they have just touched a weak point and are waiting to see how you lose your composure. Most people react exactly as expected. Deny, justify, or try to prove that I'm not as bad as you think. And it is at that moment that the initiative falls into their hands. But a person with true character does not do that. They disarm the arrow the moment it is shot. When you calmly respond, "You're right, and I've got it handled," the dynamic immediately shifts. This is not an apology. This is control. By acknowledging the valid part, you withdraw the only lever they are trying to use to stand above you. They expected you to argue, but you don't argue. They expected you to defend yourself, but you don't defend yourself. You stand in your own truth, and the force of their attack drops right at their feet. A mundane situation. You were standing at a communal event, chatting with some slight acquaintances. Someone throws out a remark, half truth, half joke, sharp enough to hit your self-esteem, but vague enough for them to deny it if you get angry. If you argue, they have reason to push further. If you fumble, they have momentum to press on. But when you look straight at them and say, "That's right, I noticed that, and I'm fixing it," the rhythm of the dialogue changes immediately. Their eyes shift before they even manage to respond. The person who thought they had the advantage is suddenly pulled from that position because the very thing they intended to use to undermine you has been disarmed by your own hand. No need for tension, no need for confrontation. They have nothing left to attack with. The Stoic philosopher Epictetus once said, "The strong man is not afraid of the truth about himself." That is the spirit of this response. You do not let the ego control the reaction. You stand on the truth and use it as your anchor to flip the dynamic. When the opponent sees you are unshaken, they lose the reason to prolong the confrontation. The arrow they shot did not pierce you. It fell right in front of them. The real power lies in the message you send. I take responsibility for my part. You cannot use that to manipulate me. In that moment, the conflict self-de-escalates, and you are, once again, the one who sets the tone. Response 3. What makes you think that? Use when someone judges, mocks, or makes a condescending remark disguised as feedback, especially within family or friend groups, where they expect you to react instinctively. The most sophisticated attacks usually appear when people think you will react instinctively. A statement, half contemptuous, half challenging, is launched not to understand you, but to observe you. If you get angry, you lose. If you try to explain, you step right into the role they desire. A person who understands confrontational psychology does not react emotionally. They bring the opponent to a place where they cannot hide, justifying their own words. And the sharpest question in this situation is, what makes you think that? This is not a counterattack. It is not a challenge. It is a pull into the light, where their true motives are exposed. When you ask this question in a calm voice, you force them to shift from attitude to argument. And the truth is, most sarcastic remarks lack underlying logic. They are just a reflex or a need to assert power. A typical weekend evening, the family is gathered around the dining table. You are sharing your new plan, a project, a direction, something you are truly excited about. You haven't finished speaking when a relative, the type who always thinks they are more experienced, sneers and says loudly enough, "That sounds ambitious. I wonder if you can actually pull it off. Or is it just talk?" The whole table pauses. Some people glance at you. Some look down at their plates. No one thinks this is feedback. Everyone senses this is a subtle jab, the familiar test attack within families, half mockery, half seeing if you will fight back. That person does not want to know your capabilities. They want to see you waver or stand firm. You don't get angry. You don't get defensive. You don't ignore it with resentment. You look straight at them and ask, "What makes you think that?" Just one sentence, but it puts them in a corner they were not ready for. They have to explain in front of the whole family. They have to confront their own attitude, no longer hiding behind the "just kidding" facade. Marcus Aurelius once wrote, "The truth does not need to be protected. Just look straight at it." And this question is the light that makes the truth visible. You don't need to argue. You don't need to win. You just need to force them to reflect on their own words. The power of this response lies in your composure. You keep the rhythm, they lose their advantage. You stand on reason, they reveal their motive. In that moment, what is exposed is not your weakness, but their true motive. Response 4. Thanks for your honesty. This response is most effective when someone speaks quickly, loudly, and sharply to overpower you, making you react hastily and fall into a defensive position. Verbal confrontation rarely begins with reason. It begins with speed. A person who wants to dominate you often speaks faster, louder, and forces a stronger pace to drag you into the chaos they are accustomed to utilizing. They believe that as long as you react hastily, they gain the advantage. But a person with character does not let the opponent's rhythm control them. They stop at the right moment and use silence. That is the moment the initiative shifts. That 3-second pause is the first strike. And it is the strike the opponent is never prepared to face. After that pause, you simply say, "Thanks for your honesty." No defense, no sarcasm, no submission. Just one well-timed expression of gratitude forces the opponent to recognize the disparity in their own demeanor. Consider this situation. During a communication workshop at a community center, you are the person the group pays attention to, not because you try to show off, but because you often share thoughtful and clear perspectives. The instructor sometimes uses you as an example. In everyone's eyes, you are like a model avatar, calm, articulate, and mature. It's your turn to share your viewpoint. You speak clearly, concisely, and stay on point. But the moment you finish speaking, a half snicker echoes from across the room, followed by a sentence loud enough for the whole room to hear. "That's your insight? I thought someone like you would bring something much better." The statement lands like a test. A few eyes turn to you. The atmosphere hangs for a beat. That moment is the crucial test of whether you are pulled down or maintain your position. You do not counterattack. You do not defend yourself. You pause. 3 seconds. 5 seconds. During that silence, their remark echoes back to them. There is no speed left to hide the crudeness. Everyone clearly sees their attitude. It cannot be excused. Then you speak, calmly, clearly. "Thank you for your honesty." The atmosphere immediately shifts. Your aggressor cannot escalate because you give them no resistance. They also cannot retreat feeling victorious because Your very pause exposed their entire attitude for the whole group to see. Silence is a mirror, and they just saw themselves in it. Epictetus once said, "Nothing so much astounds and unhinges a man as the calmness of his adversary." When you stand firm in deliberate stillness, they are forced to adjust. They realize they are being loud while you are in control. They are heated, you are clear. They are flustered, you are stable. The power of this response is not in the phrase, "thank you." It is in the rhythm you create. The rhythm that makes everyone clearly see who truly controls the conversation. And in that moment, the one who is silent is not you, it is them. Response 5. The way you speak reflects you, not me. This response is most effective when someone uses a sarcastic attitude or a condescending tone to test whether you will waver, defend yourself, or lose your position. Some people do not use logic when they want to put you down. They use attitude, a snicker, a look of contempt, a statement thrown out just to see how much you waver. And if you react exactly as they expect, hastily, defensively, or justifying yourself, you have inadvertently handed the control over to them. An intelligent person does not step into that trap. They choose to mirror so that the opponent sees the very attitude they just used. The sharpest and most concise mirroring statement is, "The way you speak reflects you, not me." This is not a counterattack. This is the act of placing a mirror in the middle of the conversation. You don't insult them. You don't raise your voice. You simply show them what they just did, clearly and undeniably. In a familiar setting, end of the day, an internal meeting is rushed. You are asked to update on project progress. You present clearly, concisely, and stay on point. But at the end of the table, a veteran colleague leans back and throws out a cold, sharp remark. "That's your update? I expected something more professional from you." No one in the room thinks this is feedback. Everyone senses this is a strike at your credibility, not the work content. A few people exchange glances. The whole room waits for your reaction, not to hear your explanation, but to see if you can maintain your position. That person doesn't care if you are right or wrong. He is observing how you react to his attitude. You don't get angry. You don't argue back. You don't try to laugh it off. You look straight and say, voice calm but firm, "The way you speak reflects you. It doesn't reflect my work results." The atmosphere changes in an instant. You didn't say anything harsh, but your statement pointed directly to the essential truth. The problem is not with you. It is with his attitude. If he pushes further, he undermines his credibility in front of the whole room. If he retreats, he has to retreat in silence. Both directions cause him to lose momentum, not you. Seneca once wrote, "The face betrays the character more than the tongue." And that is exactly what happens in this moment. You don't try to prove anything. You simply place the mirror down and let them see themselves in it. When their attitude is exposed more clearly than any argument, you don't need to assert you are right. Your composure has said it all. Response 6. Will continue when respect returns. You'll use this. When the other person raises their tone, interrupts, or uses a disrespectful attitude to push you to a lower position in the conversation, especially when they want to gain advantage in front of others. In every conversation, tone always reveals the true position of the two people. When someone suddenly raises their volume, adds a hint of sarcasm, or tries to overpower the rhythm, they are not seeking the truth. They are testing what position you will accept. And most people fall into the rhythm they create, forcing a laugh to maintain harmony, countering out of pride, or staying silent while feeling put down. But a person with inner strength does not follow that tone. They stand firm, maintain their own rhythm, and reset the tone of the conversation with a calm statement that no one can ignore. We'll continue when respect returns. You will see the power of this response most clearly in a mundane situation where someone tries to pull the entire group to their side just with an intentional remark. One weekend evening, you and your friends are sitting at a small cafe. Wooden tables, warm yellow light, soft music. The atmosphere is comfortable enough for everyone to chat naturally. You share a bit about a personal project you are working to improve. You speak briefly, without lecturing, simply sharing your enthusiasm. But just as you finish speaking, a guy in the group, who always wants to be the center of attention, laughs, leans back, and says loudly enough for the whole table to hear, "Bro, does every hangout have to turn into a lecture with you?" A few scattered laughs echo around the table, not because the comment was funny, but because everyone was just pulled into his tone. That is not a joke. It is a subtle demotion wrapped in humor. You could pretend to laugh to keep the peace, but you would compromise your self-respect. You could counterattack to reclaim your position, but you would be dragged down to the exact aggressive tone he is using. You could remain silent, but carry the feeling of being belittled. A mature person chooses the fourth option. You look straight at him, not harshly, not coldly, just the clear composure of someone who is unshaken by the attempt to dominate. And you say, slowly, but with force, "We'll continue when respect returns." The atmosphere shifts in a fraction of a second. The scattered laughter stops completely. He pauses, glances away, then raises his glass as if to avoid eye contact. Another friend changes the subject, unconsciously pulling the atmosphere back. But everyone has seen the most important thing. You do not allow that tone to become the standard when speaking to you. Seneca once reminded, "The face betrays the character more than the tongue." You don't expose anyone. You simply let them hear their own tone through the composure you maintain. And in that moment, the position does not belong to the person who spoke the loudest, but to the person who knew how to stand firm in self-respect. Response 7. I respect your view, but this is my choice. You will need this response when someone wants you to change your personal values, habits, or direction just to fit their expectations, whether it is a partner, family member, friend, or colleague. There are types of pressure that are not loud. It doesn't come from arguments, but from soft statements, subtle suggestions, or unintentional comparisons that make you question yourself. Should I change to make them happy? If you are not vigilant, you will lose yourself little by little in the name of harmony. Stoicism reminds us, respect the views of others, but do not let them decide for you what belongs to you. And the clearest statement to hold your ground is, I respect your view, but this is my choice. Not challenging, not cold, not combative. It is simply the affirmation of a person who knows where they stand. You will see this most clearly in private moments, where expectations are wrapped in care and pressure is hidden under a gentle voice. After a date night, the two of you are driving home. The streetlights reflect on the car windows, and your partner brings up something they don't like about you. A habit you have maintained for a long time, reading every night, meditating every morning, or a passion you are pursuing. Their voice is soft but firm. I don't understand why you have to do those things. They don't clearly bring anything. You should spend your time on something more practical. It sounds like advice, but the message is clear. Give up what you believe in to fit in with me. In that moment, you feel a slight tremor inside, a bit of wanting to keep the peace, a bit of not wanting to turn everything into an argument. But the more you mature, the more you understand that you cannot protect your values by blurring them to please others. That is when you need to stand up for yourself. Do not overreact. Do not try to prove you are right. Just clearly state what belongs to you. You keep your eyes focused forward, your voice low but steady, and say, I respect your view, but this is my value, and it's not changing. The atmosphere in the car shifts instantly. Not because you resisted, but because you stood firm. If they continue to push, they reveal a need for control. If they become silent, they recognize they have crossed a boundary of respect. Marcus Aurelius once wrote, "Do not let others decide what is right for your life." That is the deepest spirit of this response. Holding your ground is not stubbornness. It is how you send the most important message in any relationship. I respect you, but I also respect myself. When you reach the end of this video, there is one thing you have likely felt very clearly. True power in communication does not come from winning an argument with words, but from how you stand firm within yourself. The 7 responses today are not phrases to crush others, but tools to help you maintain your calm, your standards, and your inner values, even when others drop them. All of us have left a conversation with a feeling of regret. If only I had been calmer then. I wish I had said that differently. But after today, you will no longer fall into those moments. You know exactly how to respond without compromising your self-respect. And when you can do that, you don't need to raise your voice. Your composure, by itself, is the strongest answer. In life, there will be times when you are pulled away from your true self, to maintain harmony, to avoid confrontation, or because someone wants to test your boundaries. But there is one thing you cannot compromise. The way you allow others to treat you will become the standard they use next time. Sometimes the wrong silence is surrender, but a well-timed silence or a timely response can change the entire game. The greatest value you take away from this video is not the 7 sharp phrases, but the ability to hold the rhythm in any conversation, even when others do not. Remember, others can say anything, but how you respond will determine who owns the rest of the moment. If you found this video valuable, please share it to reach more people, and share your thoughts in the comments section below. Don't forget to subscribe to the Stoic Journey channel so we can continue this journey together. Thank you for staying until the end. I will see you in the next lesson of Stoic Journey, where your journey of inner strength moves even further.